You know that moment when you realize something has changed, but you can't pinpoint exactly when it happened? That's what hit me about 3 years ago. I was 54, successful career, good marriage, healthy by every standard my doctor could measure. Cholesterol fine, blood pressure fine, heart fine. Everything on paper looked like I was a perfectly functioning man. But I wasn't, and I think if you're watching this, you already know what I mean. You don't need me to spell it out. There's something that shifted, quietly, gradually, like someone slowly turning down a dimmer switch inside your body, and by the time you noticed, the room was already dark. It wasn't just one thing, it was everything at once. The energy that used to carry me through a full day started disappearing by 2 in the afternoon. The sharpness I had in meetings, gone. The motivation to work out, gone. And the part that really got to me, the part I never told anyone about, not even my wife, was what was happening when the lights went off at night. Nothing. That's what was happening, nothing. And I don't mean occasionally, I mean consistently, night after night after night. I'd lie there next to the woman I've loved for 27 years and feel like a stranger in my own body. She never said anything, she never pressured me, but I could see it in her eyes, that quiet confusion, that distance that starts small and grows into something that scares you. I tried everything you'd expect a rational man to try. I exercised more, I cut out alcohol, I slept 8 hours, I took every multivitamin the pharmacy had. I even had one of those incredibly uncomfortable conversations with my doctor where you're trying to describe the problem without actually saying the words out loud. He nodded, wrote me a prescription, and sent me home in under 6 minutes. And yeah, the little blue pill worked. The first time, the second time, maybe the third. But then it started becoming unpredictable. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, and the side effects, the headaches, the flushing, the feeling like my heart was going to come out of my chest, those were consistent. So I was stuck in this awful cycle. Take the pill, hope it works, deal with the side effects, feel like I'm dependent on a chemical just to function as a man. And I kept thinking, this can't be the answer. There are billions of men on this planet. This has to be something more fundamental that's going wrong, something that nobody's explaining to us. That thought is what sent me down a path that completely changed my life. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not a dramatic person. I'm the kind of guy who reads the research paper, not the headline. So when I tell you what I found, I need you to understand that this isn't some internet theory. This is published science that's been sitting in medical journals for years, while most doctors keep writing the same prescriptions. Here's what I discovered. Your body produces a gas called nitric oxide. You've probably heard of it vaguely, maybe in a health article or a supplement ad. But what you probably don't know is that nitric oxide is the single most important molecule for male function. Not testosterone, not blood pressure, nitric oxide. Here's what it does. When your brain sends the signal that you want to perform, nitric oxide is what makes it physically happen. It's the messenger that tells your blood vessels to relax and expand. Without that signal, blood can't flow where it needs to go. Period. It's not a matter of willpower or attraction or desire. It's biology. Without enough nitric oxide, your body literally cannot respond. And here's the part that nobody tells you. After the age of 40, your body's natural production of nitric oxide drops dramatically. By the time you're 50, you could be producing less than half of what you made at 30. By 60, some men are producing a quarter. So think about what that means. Every year that passes, your body is making less and less of the one molecule that controls your ability to perform. And you're sitting there wondering what's wrong with you, blaming stress, blaming age, blaming yourself. When the reality is your body is simply running out of the raw material it needs. This was the moment everything clicked for me. I wasn't broken, I wasn't getting old. My body was deficient in something specific, something measurable, something fixable. CTA 30%. Now, when I found all of this out, I didn't just read one study and call it a day. I spent months going through clinical research. I talked to nutritionists, I experimented on myself, and I eventually found a specific combination of natural compounds that are scientifically shown to restore nitric oxide production in men over 40. I put together everything I learned into a single resource. If you want to see exactly what I use every morning, the specific protocol, the ingredients, the dosages, it's all in the link in the description below. Take a look when you get a chance. But first, let me explain the science behind this, because once you understand how this works, you'll never look at your body the same way. So let's go deeper, because the nitric oxide story doesn't stop there. There's a second molecule involved that almost nobody knows about. Scientists recently started calling it the manhood molecule. Its technical name is cGMP. But forget the name for now. What matters is what it does. Think of it like this. Nitric oxide is the key that starts the car, but cGMP is the engine that actually makes the car move. When nitric oxide reaches your blood vessels, it tells your body to produce cGMP. And cGMP is what physically makes the tissue around those vessels relax and open up wide. That's what allows blood to rush in and create firmness. No cGMP, no response. It doesn't matter how much you want it to happen. Without this molecule, your body physically can't do its job. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Your body also has a built-in off switch. There's an enzyme called PDE5, and you might recognize that name because that's exactly what the blue pill targets. PDE5 has one job: to destroy cGMP, to break it down and clear it out. In a young, healthy body, that's fine. You make plenty of cGMP, PDE5 cleans up the excess, and there's always more than enough to keep things working. But as you get older, two things happen at the same time. Your body makes less nitric oxide, which means less cGMP gets produced. But PDE5 doesn't slow down. It keeps destroying cGMP at the same rate it always has. So now you're making less, but losing it just as fast. It's like earning half your paycheck, but your bills stayed the same. This is why the blue pill works at first, but loses effectiveness over time for nearly half the men who use it. It blocks PDE5, which is great, but it does nothing to increase the production of cGMP or nitric oxide. You're essentially blocking the drain, but not turning on the faucet. Eventually, the tub runs dry anyway. And I want to pause here because this is important. When I first read this, I felt two things simultaneously. I felt angry that no one had explained this to me in 40 years of doctor visits. And I felt relieved, genuinely relieved, because for the first time the problem had a name, a mechanism, and a logical solution that didn't involve a pharmacy. Every man I've shared this with has the same reaction, that moment where the frustration turns into clarity. Because once you see the mechanism, you can't unsee it. It's not mysterious anymore. It's not just aging. It's a specific chemical deficiency with a specific pathway to correct it. What the research shows is that the real solution is a two-pronged approach. You need to boost nitric oxide production, and you need to support cGMP levels naturally. And the incredible thing is, nature already provides the tools to do both. Let me walk you through what actually works, and I'm going to keep this simple because I think that's what we all need. First one is beetroot, and I know it sounds like something your grandmother would eat, but listen. Beetroot is loaded with natural nitrates, and when your body digests those nitrates, it converts them directly into nitric oxide. Clinical studies have shown that concentrated beetroot can measurably increase your nitric oxide levels in as little as 90 minutes after you consume it. 90 minutes, not weeks, not months. Second, there's an amino acid called L-arginine. Think of it as the raw material your body needs to build nitric oxide. Your body takes L-arginine and literally transforms it into nitric oxide through a natural process. A major clinical study found that men taking L-arginine showed real, measurable improvement in function compared to men taking a placebo. This isn't opinion, this is clinical data. Third, and this one works hand in hand with L-arginine, there's L-citrulline. Here's why this matters. When you take L-arginine by itself, a lot of it gets filtered out by your liver before it can do its job. L-citrulline takes a back road around the liver and then converts into L-arginine once it's already in your system. So you end up with more usable material. The two of them together create a recycling loop. L-citrulline becomes L-arginine, L-arginine becomes nitric oxide, and the leftover cycles back to L-citrulline. Your body already knows how to run this loop. You just need to give it the fuel. Fourth, and this one surprised me, ginkgo biloba. Most people think of it as a memory supplement, but here's the connection. Ginkgo protects the cells that line the inside of your blood vessels. Those cells are the factory where nitric oxide gets made. As you age, those cells get damaged, and damaged cells produce less nitric oxide. Ginkgo acts like a shield, keeping those cells healthy and productive. Same mechanism, different benefit. And fifth, there's a compound found in a plant called horny goatweed. I know, the name sounds ridiculous, but there's a specific compound inside it called icariin that does something remarkable. Remember that off switch I mentioned earlier, PDE5, the enzyme that destroys your CGMP? Icariin naturally blocks that enzyme. It does essentially the same thing the blue pill does, but through a natural pathway. No headaches, no flushing, no feeling like your heart's about to explode. Now here's the key. When you put all 5 of these together, you're doing 2 things at once. You're flooding your body with the ingredients it needs to produce more nitric oxide and more CGMP. And you're blocking the enzyme that tears it all down. You're turning on the faucet and plugging the drain at the same time. That's the combination that changed everything for me. I started this combination 14 months ago. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that everything changed overnight, because it didn't. The first week, I noticed my energy was different. Not a caffeine rush, just a steady, sustained feeling of being awake and present that I hadn't felt in years. By week 2, my workouts improved. My recovery improved. I was sleeping better. And by week 3, something happened that I hadn't experienced in a very long time. I woke up one morning and my body had responded on its own. No pill, no anxiety, no hoping. Just my body doing what it's supposed to do. I remember just lying there for a minute, staring at the ceiling, except this time it wasn't that hopeless stare I'd gotten used to. It was disbelief, the good kind. By month 2, it wasn't just about that one thing anymore. My entire baseline had shifted. I had energy at 6 in the evening that I used to lose by noon. My focus at work came back. I was sleeping deeper. I was waking up feeling like my body actually recovered overnight instead of just survived until morning. Even my workouts felt different. Heavier weights, faster recovery, that feeling of blood actually flowing through your muscles that I hadn't felt since my 40s. But the part that mattered most to me, the part I still think about, was what happened with my wife. My wife noticed before I said anything, not just that one morning, the weeks that followed, the confidence that came back, the way I started reaching for her hand again, the way I stopped avoiding intimacy and started initiating it. She told me, and I'll never forget this, she said, "I feel like I have my husband back." That sentence meant more to me than any clinical study ever could. And listen, I'm not telling you this to sell you anything. I'm telling you this because I was the guy who thought it was over. I was the guy lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, feeling like less of a man, wondering if this was just what the rest of my life was going to look like. And I was wrong. The science is there. It's published. It's been reviewed by other scientists. It's sitting in major medical databases that anyone can access for free. This isn't some underground secret. This is established science that for some reason never makes it into that 6-minute conversation with your doctor. If any of what I said today resonated with you, if you recognized yourself in any part of this story, I want you to know 2 things. 1, it's not your fault. Your body is responding to a biological decline that happens to every single man. You didn't do anything wrong. You're not broken, you're depleted. There's a massive difference between those 2 words, and understanding that difference is the first step to getting your life back. And 2, it's fixable. Not with some miracle cure, not overnight, but with the right compounds, the right consistency, and the right understanding of what's actually happening inside your body. I spent 54 years not knowing any of this. 54 years of trusting that if something was wrong, my doctor would explain it. And when he didn't, I assumed the problem was me. I carried that weight silently, the way most men do. We don't talk about this over beers with our friends. We don't bring it up at dinner. We just quietly shrink away from the people we love and hope they don't notice. But they notice. They always notice. And the tragedy isn't that this happens. The tragedy is that for most men, it doesn't have to. The research exists. The compounds exist. The biological pathway to reverse this decline is well documented and accessible. It just never reaches the men who need it most, because nobody's having this conversation honestly. That's why I started this channel, not to sell you something, not to play doctor, but to be the guy I wish I'd found on the internet 3 years ago. The guy who would have looked me in the eye and said, hey, I know exactly what you're going through, and here's what the science actually says. Everything I use, the exact protocol, the specific formulation, the morning routine that changed my life, it's all in the link below this video. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to look at the science yourself and make your own decision. You deserve to feel like yourself again. And so does she. If this video made sense to you, if something clicked while you were watching, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. I'm going to keep breaking down the science that nobody else is explaining to men our age. No gimmicks, no drama, just the truth. And if this helped you even a little, leave a like so more men can find this. Because the guy who needs to hear this the most is probably sitting right where you were 3 years ago thinking he's the only one. He's not. And he deserves to know that. I'll see you in the next one.